this is my artifact speech. Growing up in a family, with contractors, I was always in and around the construction business, so it wasn't really hard to, get into that industry. So when I grew up and got a little older, my uncle took me under his wing and decided he was going to let me work with him, over the summer, holidays, and when I was out of school. So I started out, his company was East Coast Concrete. Started out, doing some basic stuff, patios, driveways, sidewalks, just stuff like that, easy stuff. So this past summer, took on a new job, and it was new to me and new to him. So start off with this hard hat. I'm sure all of you have probably seen one of these at one point. And if you haven't, I'll give you a little hint. You ever been on a long trip and you're driving down the road, cruising along about 70 miles an hour, since we all go speed limit, and then all of a sudden have to slow down to 45. Well, yeah, that's what I did. Made you slow down to 45. So I just happened to be on one of the crews that was contracted by the state of South Carolina for what they call the I-95 rehab project. The reason they call it the rehab project was because we didn't exactly redo the whole road. We just took out bits and pieces and basically tore them out and just redid the sections. And on that, in that job, there were 3 main crews. The first crew would go along and tear out the sections that were damaged or cracked. The second crew would come along and prepare that damaged section for the last crew, which would pour the concrete, and finish it. I just happened to be on the second crew. That crew, my particular crew, what we would do once the concrete was tore out and the section was open, we would go through with 2 drills, and the drills would basically drill holes about 2 feet into the sections, into the sides that were still there, the road, that we didn't tear out. The reason we did that was because we were going to insert large steel dowels and rebar into the road in order to, get the poured sections, sturdier and have better tensile strength. That way it won't crack again in the future. So, doing this job, it was a lot of hard work, and basically, but the hardest part was the hours. The hours were really tough for me because normally I would go into work at about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and because it was so late, you didn't have a lot of time to get anything done, and basically it was tough. So I'd go in at 5, and we would normally work till sometimes 5 o'clock the next morning, and that was a good night. Most nights it would be 6 or 7 o'clock the next morning, which was very tough. So that was, to me, the hardest part of the job. However, even though the job was tough, I got a lot out of it. I feel like it was great for me to have that experience, and it would be great for my future. One thing I learned was time management. The reason it was so tough to manage time in this job is because working such long hours and at night, you only have this short window during the day to do all the things that you need to do. For example, sleep. Sleep was very hard to come by because, with waking up at 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you still have to eat, bathe, everything you'd have to do before you go into work. So that was a tough one. Also, time management, or money management. I had to manage my money because I was out of town. I had 1 week, food, everything I needed for that week, and that therefore, if I didn't manage my money, I wouldn't have a good paycheck the next week, or I'd spend it all during the week, on food at gas stations. Last thing was the work ethic. I feel like the work ethic was very important to this job because if one person screws up, then it affects everybody in all 3 crews. And that was a big deal because we get fined, thousands and thousands of dollars for every 5-10 minutes we were late. Because the road has to open up at normally 10 or 11 o'clock the next morning. The last point was I feel like it gave me a good idea of what I don't want to do for the future. And the reason, for that is, I feel like that I have a lot of respect, for the people who do this job now, because it's a very tough job, and it's really needed, and it's a big deal. But for me personally, I decided that wasn't the route I needed, and now I'm a finance major here at UCF. So not only did I learn a lot from it, but I figured out, the route I needed to take in the future.